Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode. I'm going to do it this time of the
Yeah, that's
Boga
fine.
Hunting Podcast. We're back in your office. Is there any name you got for it, anything like
Still
that?
no. Still my office.
Still committed to
Oh,
excellence, like
yep.
his
Awesome.
poster says. And I've been sitting here, and before I see on what'd you do with your sticky note I was reading yesterday? Just nasty broadheads and
I
a
w-
turkey tomahawk.
Yeah,
What are you researching in here?
turkey broadheads, man. Turkey season's coming up, and
What are you gonna use?
last year I used the G5 Montec, which did fine. It killed the turkey,
Yeah.
but this year I want to.
You want to get a big old
I want to
nasty?
yeah, this one's. I don't think they sell the Just Nasties anymore because it was like a 4-inch. It was ridiculously
boy.
ridiculously big. I think they took them off the market. But
Yeah.
I think I'll either do. Actually, I think I'm gonna do the G5 Mega Meats.
The mega meats?
Yeah,
Mega
three-blade
Meats. That-
yeah, 3-blade expandable. Should blow
That's
a
a
big
good
old
one.
hole. Yeah,
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna shoot, a lower poundage bow, or are you just gonna like pull
He goes
7
about-
and go for
You're
it?
at what, 35 pound on your compound bow? Is that right?
no,
Yeah.
I'm at 65, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't
That's
wanna
respectable.
I mean, I'm not. It's not a dick swinging contest by any means, but
No, my big thing is for turkeys, like the bigger the cutting diameter, really, that's what you need. So I'm gonna find. I got these wide fixed blade. What are they? German kinetics or something like that. They're like this big, and I'm just gonna be. You get a lot of more, margin for error that way.
yeah,
So,
Yeah. Yeah. You just don't want to blow them through. Like you want something dull for the most part. Just you don't want to. That's why I asked about the poundage. We're talking about setting up some 40-pound bows. Just for
Yep.
turkey hunting. Because half the time you're laying on the ground and you're all contorted, and it's like, okay, you got to draw now, and you've already been 5 minutes, pinned down, and so
Mhm.
yeah, you can hold it back for a while.
yeah,
Because it's a lot easier with the shotgun. You just set it on your knee,
oh
you
yeah,
know, and then you just wait. And it's harder to do that with a bow because you got to do this. But
Absolutely.
it worked fine for you last year.
I actually set up a ground blind where I don't know if like a branch fell off, but I was able
Right.
to sit like in the crotch of a tree, and I found a rock, like a flat rock.
It's sweet in there.
And
It's
wedged,
cushy.
I wedged it in there, so then I've got a
So you're
seat in between
comfortable.
a tree.
Yeah.
It's comfortable.
It's all built up, too. It's like a log. It's like if Lincoln. It's like Lincoln logs. If he
Yeah.
was hunting, that's what it would be. Actually, you want to let me hunt out of there this spring? It'd be
Sir,
nice,
That's
you
my,
know.
that's my spot.
It's
What
your
do you-
spot.
What do you guys get, one tag or two?
Just one.
One
for
and
turkeys?
yeah, and for
one,
the
yeah.
public, for public land here, you get 1 week. And so 1 week, one tag to get it done. And the past couple of years, it's just with work and everything else. It's been you get like 3 days
Yeah,
to make it happen, which is
you got to go hard.
we go like I am wiped out by the end of it.
Yeah, yeah. We get two tom tags, and then we get a month to do it.
Okay.
So it's really great. It's really a lot of
Mhm.
fun. We didn't film last season because it was COVID. Nobody could figure out how to work together. We had that whole mess going on. But
Yeah.
it was one of my most favorite turkey seasons because I like selected two birds. Like those were the two birds that I wanted to kill.
Right.
And it took me about a week each, to actually
Yep.
catch up with them and shoot them. And, I'd seen them like every day. I was seeing them every day. I just couldn't close the gap. I couldn't get on them. And they didn't like my decoys. One day I'm hunting with a bow. The next time I'm hunting with a shotgun. There's always a different set of circumstances, but it was really a lot of fun,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, that's enough turkey talk for now. We got like a
Yeah,
month
okay.
before.
Yeah,
Why don't we've had you on before, but never
Sure.
video. So now
Yeah.
people get to see you as you talk. But
Yeah,
you want to
this-
introduce who you are, what you do, give us a little more background for people who maybe didn't catch the first episode or maybe forgot.
Sure. So I'm John Altman, and I am sort of partnered here in Maine with Josh Leach and my oldest son, William Altman. And then Rye, my youngest son, helps out quite a bit with our whole venture, which is Hunting Maine. And we sort of stepped back last season and sort of reevaluated the sort of content that we wanted to create we did that Sea Buck series, and that was really broad across all of New England. And we said, you know what, let's just really focus our content in Maine. Maine's sort of our gem that we really want to polish. It's where our hearts are. It's our backyard. And so now we are sort of coming forward with content that is all, under the brand name of Hunting Maine. So, people can find us that way. Our Instagram is sort of probably the best way to just sort of link through. It seems to be the vehicle everyone's using these days. So, yeah.
No, that's we've been buddies with you for a while. You guys did some really cool stuff last year. You're already coming out with awesome stuff this year on bear hunting, and it sounds like you've got some blood trailing stuff coming up, which is really interesting to me because so I've got a 7-month-old hound mix right now.
Nice.
And so I had for 12 years. So Jared and I got a beagle in college, which was a college dog. He was he was a bit of a hurricane, but he was actually a great blood trailer. I didn't ever teach him anything, but anytime I ever shot a deer, I'd bring him out. He found the deer right away.
Sure.
My new dog is a quarter beagle because I only wanted a quarter of the ridiculousness of a full-on beagle. But he's already shown that he just loves to squirrel hunt. Like if I go out and I'll say go get him, or if I shoot a gun, he's just like looking up in the tree like holy, like losing his mind. But I'd like for him to get into blood trailing at some point. Jared wounds a lot of deer. His blood trailing, I get tired of just like crawling hands and knees.
Jared. You're just like this big target.
It happens every episode. It's just like a big punching bag.
Yeah.
Eventually, he's gonna break his hand on
it. Although I will say on Instagram, I posted you roasting me. I posted it today.
Did you?
Yeah. So I feel like I can take it.
I can take it as well. And if you ask James how many deer he actually shot last year,
less. The recurve has I passed him, and then when it gets to the end of season, I'm looking around like, oh, maybe I probably should have shot one of those does earlier on. But
please continue.
That's neither here nor there.
Continue.
Blood trailing is kind of somewhere where you're headed. You want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about it. So we are about 2 weeks away from putting out a trailer that basically is going to lay out sort of the journey that we're going to go on for this next season, which is producing 8 episodes of recovery of wounded large game. And I think it's really the way we talk about this stuff. It can be one or two words in the wrong place can really steer the viewer in a direction that I think is we really have to be careful, because these are mortally wounded animals that we're trying to recover. And so that journey, what we're going to do is we're going to film. We have 2 trackers selected that are here. One covers ground that's probably 2 hours sort of in one direction of us, and the other one covers ground that's 2 hours in the other direction. So we're right in the middle. And these trackers have been doing this for quite some time. They're incredible at what they do. They're both women, and they have really great dogs. And so we tracked with them last fall, several tracks. Their dedication is it's so admirable. They get phone calls at all hours of the night. They meet people in the craziest, they get a pin in the middle of who knows where. And the next thing you know, they're on the road. They're driving for an hour in one direction to meet this person who they most of the times don't have any connection to. They don't know. They collect some facts as to what happened, and within no time at all, they're underway on a track with a leashed dog. These dogs are different breeds, but they're typically under your knee. They're not big dogs by any means. They have a 20-foot lead on them. So we're going to show that journey, but we're also going to sort of get into the science. We're going to get into quite a bit of history as to where the tracking originated, and how it's sort of evolved over time, the breeds. We're going to really get into it. Maine has done a really good job. I think it's right around 20 years that they've allowed this to happen in the state of Maine. and they have a really good level of like oversight, to manage this. They, trackers are required to go through a certain amount of training and to be licensed. The IF&W is involved in this. The state police is involved in this. And so we're going to kind of just show sort of a running sort of, 8 episodes is what it's going to be, and a lot of it's going to be actually on track. But as we're tracking, we're going to kind of bring some of this history in, bring some of the science in. And it's just every time I dig into it a little more, I'm just learning more and more about it. Yeah. I found that these people, these trackers are their passion for what they do is just incredibly contagious. You just once you get around it, you just want more and more and more of it. And hunting, has done that to me over the years. But it's become harder and harder to kind of feel that overwhelming energy. And so I just found that's why I really wanted to do this series, because I found these individuals that were as passionate about what they do as I am about what I do, which is actually the hunting side of it. And so to get paired up with them, it's just a real opportunity to open our eyes to just sort of what I kind of call like the other side, right? So when we go hunting as hunters, there's a tremendous amount of training and preparation and everything that goes into getting there. And then we get ourselves in that position and James, some of us spend a whole lot of time before we can get a shot, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'm just but
unreal.
yeah. But so then we make that shot, and it's like somebody sprinkles magic dust down on us, and everything gets blurry, and we sort of drift off, and we think we know what happened, but then we start second guessing ourselves. I mean, I do this, I've shot a lot of deer, and I do this every time. Like I always kind of get disoriented after the shot. And so we're going to spend a lot of time with hunters sort of showing that sort of phenomenon as to what happens. We're going to interview them, and we're going to ask them a lot of questions about, where were you? What position were you in when you shot? Did you shoot with a gun? Did you shoot with a bow? Did you have a rest? All these things that we're going to sort of spell out for the viewer that they may interpret as, well, I'm going to ask myself some of these questions after I take my shot, and right. I shot a deer this year. I didn't shoot a deer in Maine until muzzleloader, but it's a funny story. I mean, I struggled. I really had a hard time this season finding the deer that I wanted to shoot. And it got into the muzzleloader season. And I said to Will and Josh, I said, I'm just going to walk until I find what I'm looking for and where I want to hunt. Like the spots were just run out. The acorns fell really early. Everything was just different for us in Maine this year. And I started walking and walking and walking with the idea that I was going to find myself a spot that I was going to hunt for the next couple days, during muzzleloader. I got into a spot, and I literally was fearful to take another step. I mean, it was so hot. It was just ripped up. There was still acorns on the ground. There was deer sign everywhere. And I literally just got up in a tree. And I was like, I don't even want to walk into this anymore. I still got an hour of daylight. Got up into a tree, and I had 8 does come by me in a single file line. And I've seen that before. And I was like, there's either going to be a buck behind them. I mean, they were managed. They were just sort of like in order. Yeah. And, and I knew something was going to go down. Whether it was going to be a shooter or not, I wasn't sure. My instinct told me that, that deer, that buck was going to be quartering, about 30 yards downwind, from those does. 3 minutes later, the stick snapped, out he came. It was a shooter. It was a deer that we knew. And I shot him. I shot him with a muzzleloader. And after I shot him, I called Will, and I said, Will, I just shot a great buck. And he was in a grocery store, and he literally left his whole cart of groceries. He just walked away from it. And he was at the base of my tree. He was at the base of my tree within like 45 minutes.
That's impressive.
I was so run out. So he had to go to my truck, get all the camera equipment, because I was just scouting. At this point, I was worn out. I was scouting. Well, he gets to my tree, and he comes up, and he asked me, well, what happened? well, I still got this like cloudy head, and he climbs up in my tree and he's like, where'd you shoot him? And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, I knew where I shot him, but like none of it made any sense, because I was overwhelmed with adrenaline. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is we all go through this as hunters.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I got down on the ground and we're like, let's walk right over to it. Well, we didn't just walk right over to it because everything was different, and so we're going to kind of break that down and in such a way that the hunter can see other hunters going through what they're going to go through, after they've made the shot, and just sort of break it down piece by piece and then put it back together with the trackers. And I'm just really excited about it. It's, I think I'm as excited about this series as I am. We're also doing just a hardcore Maine whitetail pursuit, series, which is 16 episodes. And I'm very excited about that as well. But this dog tracking piece, it really means a lot to me. And I think it's going to really be a lot of fun. So,
well, it's a huge part of hunting. Like, we talk, most of our podcast is talking about up to the shot.
Yeah.
I would say, right? And like you mentioned, I mean, you get that buck fever, the deer comes out, you shoot, and you get this, like you said, like this fog comes over you. A good this is history, right? So Carl von Clausewitz, you can look this up later, Jared, talks about the fog of war. And so what he says is decision making in wartime, in combat, there's so much going on. You've got your adrenaline going, if things aren't clear, and so you don't always see things the way that they are or make the best decision always. We've seen this plenty of times, like the buck fog. Like you shoot, and it's like I shot there, and I mean, not only are you fogged up, but you're at an angle, and you have to be like, I think by the time you get there, it's like crap. Now I have to go to my stand again and look, and then by that time, that spot isn't where you thought it was, and things get messed up really fast.
Yeah, no, you just get disoriented. It's the adrenaline that just sort of, it's an incredible feeling, and it happens to all of us, And I mean, and recovery has been something that I have been just fascinated with. Like, I'll never turn anybody down if they ask me to go help them find their deer. I just love it. I feel like there's so much to be learned right there. And, we have days and days and days and years and years and years of time that stacks up before the recovery happens. And there's very little time that we actually get to spend recovering the deer. And it's such, as a bow hunter, it is so critical to sort of navigate that process correctly. I mean, you spend all this time getting there, you make a shot, and you can really blow it in a hurry if you don't if you can't recall and have some recollect of what happened, what you saw, when that deer ran away. And we see this all the time. People go looking for deer too soon. And these tracks, it's really fascinating when you look. It's all the tracking's done with, GPS tracking apps. So we look at all these tracks. And as we're running the tracks, we're laying down pins. So, if there's some sign, maybe it's some blood, we lay down a pin. If there's a bed, all these things. And you start looking at hundreds and hundreds of these tracks. And all of a sudden you can really start seeing a lot of similarities in terms of what that deer did after it got shot. And you could almost, based on studying those tracks, you could almost predict whether or not that deer was recoverable or not based on what it did.
How it's moving and laying down and everything else.
So we're going to share that. The trackers are going to talk a lot about that, a lot about what they see. You take some situations, and a hunter's, taking the track for say 50 yards, very minimal sign. It took them 3 hours to do it. You put the dog on the site of impact. The dog is at that point in 50 yards later in 45 seconds. Do you know what I mean? It's just boom, right to it. And it's just fascinating to see. And so it's that whole dog world that comes into this as well, So I really feel like it's going to be wildly successful because we're going to have sort of the hunter piece, and then we're going to have that dog world piece. And then we want to build it in such a way that it can be used for other states that maybe don't allow tracking, and they may be able to use it to help sort of navigate through, going up against some of that legislature,
Which is
So,
crazy. Which is crazy to me.
yeah.
A leashed dog tracking a mortally wounded animal. I don't see anybody, whether you're for hunting or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how you can be against it, because say you're against hunting and you want animals not to suffer and whatever else. Well, still, the fact of the matter is hunting is still legal. So then you should be in support of people making the most of every shot, getting recovering, and being able to enjoy the meat and everything else. So I don't see how. I don't understand the laws against it. What have you seen? Like why is that?
Why is that? It's a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with just what people visualize. They think of, for one, you use this blood tracking. The first,
Yeah.
you're saying blood tracking. Well, yeah, we're tracking blood, but as humans we track blood because that's what we see. As dogs, they're tracking adrenaline. They're tracking something that we can't even see. They're tracking sweat. That's really, when you follow this way back. That's what we're gonna get into. That we're gonna kind of like give all of that stuff up, but that's what they're doing. That's why a dog can take a track. 8 deer can run off, one of them can be hit, and the dog can decipher which track is the deer that's wounded and take it right through and continue out the other end, and 100 yards later, 200 yards later, be on a dead deer. So I think what happens is we paint this picture, we talk about dogs, we talk about blood, and we talk about tracking, and people just instantly are like, I don't know if I'm really into hunting dogs, hunting deer with dogs or bears or moose or whatever, large game, right? And it's like, well, that's not what we're doing. We're trying to recover a mortally wounded animal, and it's very, very different. And so I really want to paint that picture so that if you take a non-hunter or somebody that was maybe opposed against the use of dogs for recovery and see this piece, they're gonna look at it differently. They're gonna step back and say, hey, I guess I really didn't know what was really going on there. So like, I want to get blood right out of the picture. It's like, blood is our thing. It's like in the dog's world, it's not about
scent.
It's scent. That's what they're doing. And they're deciphering one scent from another. And these dogs are absolutely incredible when you watch them walk. Or watch them work. It's like they'll go down, then they'll come back, they'll double check things, they'll run leads out, they'll come back. I've been on them where we go 200 yards, no sign at all. And you're like, I don't know. Like, I don't think we're on it any longer. You're starting to second guess it. And all of a sudden, 200 yards later, there it is. The deer stood there and was bleeding, on the ground. And you're like, I will never not trust this dog again.
Right.
Because as hunters, like, there's no way we're going to take that track 200 yards. Like, there was no blood at all.
Yeah.
Dog stays right on it. And, you may recover that deer, you may not. And this is something that we're going to really get into, is there's a lot of authority sort of invested in the tracker, to make that call. Is this deer mortally wounded, or is this deer just wounded? We're not going to hunt this deer with our dogs. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to recover this deer if it's mortally wounded. So like, sometimes that means you might have to push it a little more. Obviously these gut shots are just, everything gets complicated when we start talking about that type of shot. But you can decipher a muscle shot very quickly with the dogs. And I've seen the trackers many times turn around, they bring their dog back, they turn around and they talk to the hunter and they say, I'm not going to go any further. This deer is not mortally hit. We're not hunting this deer with my dog. We're trying to recover it, but I'm pulling off of this track. And it's a hard thing for them to do, to say that, but that's what we're doing. We're not hunting,
No, right.
We're recovering.
Well, people have this idea, like, from like the Bambi, where they get the dogs out and then they're chasing these deer around, and then they light a fire at some point. I think they light a fire in it, right?
Somehow a fire gets incorporated.
Into their hunting tactics, which, is it's definitely off-putting. And it's could not be further from reality.
Mm-hmm.
So no, that's interesting to know. And it's funny, dogs can tell. I mean, rain, like a good rain right after you shoot a deer is like for people, you're like screwed, a lot of times. Where I've had it where I will take a dog and doesn't really seem to mess them up too bad. I mean, sometimes with a torrential downpour, maybe, but I've had it rain pretty hard, and Henry just beelines right to the deer laying there.
I remember that.
Pretty incredible.
It is. It really is. It's fascinating to watch. So my youngest son, Rye, this year, he shot with a crossbow, and he shot a real nice buck with a crossbow. And obviously I was filming him. It's going to be one of our launches here soon. And we brought in the dog trackers to help recovery, because I saw in the video, I could see where he hit the deer, and I knew it was a low back hit.
Yep.
But I knew 100% that deer was going to die. It was just, now I had the aid of the video to tell me that.
Right.
A lot of times people don't have that, but and I was like, well, we might be able to recover them on our own, but let's bring in the trackers, because it'll be great, and they'll, if nothing else, they're going to train their dogs, which they always need to do. And it was a pretty tough recovery. It was about 500 yards. In this case, there was sign along the way. I think we might have been able to have done it without the dogs, but it was the responsible thing to do, right? Because it was like, if this deer gets up and runs, like I want to know that, and you can tell from posturing of the way the dogs posture whether that happened or not.
Yep.
We went in, pushed it the first time a little bit, felt that the deer had got up out of its bed, left, came back 6 hours later, went right to the deer. And it was like, so like I just want to show hunters that this service is available in most states, and we're going to break down that that I'm going to hope that we break down that wall where that sort of macho, like, I want to do this on my own, like, that's great, right? We shoot a deer and we recover it and everything goes as planned, but it doesn't always happen that way. No. And it's okay to ask for help, it's the right thing to do. Morally, it's the right thing to do. I mean, the last thing we want this deer to do is get up and run away after it's laid in a bed for 6 hours. And at that point, then recovery is, really difficult.
Well, yeah, and it's like, just save yourself the heartache and the, like the ulcer that you'll be developing. Because, like, unless I shoot a deer and it dies in sight, I get so nervous from when I shoot it to when I find it. Like, that part to me can be like, I mean, it's like tormenting you the whole time.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I shot that deer, and most of the time I'm not filming, although I think we'll hopefully change that a little bit this year. But so I'm like, I mean, I remember it, but like we talked about, there's like a fogginess. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I smoked it, and it's like, why not make it easier on yourself? Why not do something that helps you find it faster? Preserves meat in many cases if it's hot out, and just rely on an animal who is bred and kind of created to follow scent like that. Doesn't make any sense not to. Mm-hmm. In Michigan, we have tracking.
Yep.
A buddy that we know, Tony Hill.
Yep. I was gonna mention him.
Good dude. I think we need to be people with hounds need to be licensed in Michigan to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Which I don't know the process for it, and I don't know the legality of me using Henry back in the day to find deer, but it was my dog.
It's your dog.
But yeah, I think that's probably the case for most places, right?
Yeah, I mean, American Blood Trackers is like, that's the place to go to sort of collect a lot of this information, and they, I think it's really different state by state, but most states there's sort of a qualification that has to be obtained for the dog as well as the tracker. So there's some type of certification. In almost all cases it is necessary. And we will get into that a little bit. Mostly I'm going to focus on Maine and just why we do it the way we do it, But in New England, we have Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island that we can't use dogs, and I mean, I can, like, this year I had somebody call me, a good friend from Massachusetts. He couldn't find his deer. And he said, what am I going to do? I need a dog. And I was like, you do need a dog, but I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
because you can't use one. And unfortunately, he didn't recover that deer, but it was mortally hit.
Yeah. Drives you crazy.
So I would really like to see that change. I think that we're so vulnerable right now as hunters. Hunting in the definition of hunting is very vulnerable, and we have to do everything as sportsmen to kind of like pull together and represent ourselves well, and I really believe that this is like very morally grounded. It's ethical. It's the thing that we should be doing. We don't want to leave unrecoverable animals out in the woods that somebody else might come across. I mean, if you're in an urban area, you might have a deer in somebody's backyard and you're not going to recover it. And that's not going to go over well. That just doesn't bode well for hunters,
No.
So I'd like to see, across the country, I'd like to see it allowed. I think that's going to take some time, but the American Blood Trackers has really been working on this for a long time, and they just about have it all sewn up. I'm hoping that this piece can be valuable, to change.
It's good ammo
for him.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, the PR thing around hunting, we are definitely under more scrutiny than we have been. And I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing. I think for a long time in history, the hunter, the gentleman hunter, was a good thing. People looked upon them as like they were good people doing good things, and there was also a period of time where it's like wipe out everything. Either you're hunting till extinction, or you're just the hillbilly drunken hunter in the back 40, boozing and shooting at anything that moves. And both of those things, maybe were the case at some point in history. So having a little bit of a spotlight on us probably, I mean, it's difficult, but it also might be a good thing to say, your son works with Donnie Vincent. He made that why we hunt, or who we are. Who we are. Stuff like that is critical, because it's like now we've been forced to think about, well, why do we do this? How do we do it the best way possible, the most honorable, morally right way? And that's just, maybe that's a good thing. And maybe, we can use something like blood trailing, scent trailing to show that, hey, we are interested in recovering and being efficient and as effective as possible.
And then then even like portraying it to people who have maybe never heard of the hunting or some of the processes that go along with it. It's just creating a stronger knit community.
Yeah. James, I'm with you. The vulnerability doesn't scare me at all. I see it as an opportunity, to really say, hey, let's sort of unite, let's step up, and let's be responsible for what we do. And it, being a content creator, it's like, it's an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity. It's like, let's tell a story, and let's do it well. Let's have it like morally grounded. Let's have it ethical. And I just don't see how people can object to it. I mean, they may say, hey, it's not for me, but they can't really attack us for doing something that we shouldn't be doing, if it's morally grounded, So I see it as an opportunity. I mean, I've got a lot more ideas, on this type of thing, but I'd like to see the content that's being created in the hunting industry go more in this direction, be more educational and morally grounded. That's really what we did when we stepped back last year and rebranded ourselves as Hunting Maine. That was something that just became very apparent to us. It's like, this is something that we want to do. We want to sort of carve this niche out for sort of representing some of these efforts that go on. And that's where we're at now. And we're getting really great support. We've got some other sort of hunting industry sort of leaders, I would say, that are really behind this. So I'm really happy about it. Yeah,
I'm excited. I mean, we've been watching what you put out already this year with bear hunting, how, bringing hounds into the mix, scent trailing, just talking about we've talked about this, I feel like, a lot lately, but the emotions that come up for some reason when dogs are involved, whether you're hunting bears or you're trailing, a wounded animal, for some reason it seems like duck hunting with dogs is fine. That seems like there's a line. Ducks are different, and that's fine. But it's like the moment you bring dogs in who are bred to do it, and if you watch a dog do what they're bred or trained to do, there's almost like no more joy than an animal. Like you can see in an animal's face than a dog just, losing his mind following a trail out in the woods.
Yeah.
So
I've been hunting
it's
behind
interesting.
dogs. Yeah, I've been hunting behind dogs for a long time. Most of it's bird hunting,
Yeah.
But I really do think they have a place in the woods on large game. This series is gonna go right through the moose season, and then it's gonna go into the bear season, and then we're gonna do deer. So we are gonna have quite a bit of content there. And it's gonna be fast and furious. We're gonna finish one track, the phone's gonna ring, and it's gonna be like an hour and a half this direction to another track. And that we did Youth Day. This is crazy, but Will and I did Youth Day, Maine Gun Youth Day, with the trackers. And we started, our first track was at like 8:00 in the morning, recovered a 210-pound deer, kid's first deer,
Holy cow.
He came unglued. He was so happy. And his dad was like, he was like, I think the deer was here, and his dad was a hunter, but the whole thing just overwhelmed him. Right. So, but we recovered that deer, and then we went on track after track after track. We stopped at 5:00 in the morning that next day, 5:00 in the morning. And Will and I headed home. We were 3 hours away from the house at that point, because we had just been bebopping all around the trackers. We got home and I was dead beat. Will was dead beat. I fell asleep. I woke up at 11:00 and I had 3 more tracks from the tracker that she got home, and the phone rang 3 more times, and she went on 3 more tracks. It was 12:00 that afternoon before she was done. So, I mean, this is the kind of dedication that they have, and you can't say no, right? I mean, it's like, it's now, like, you got to
there's
go.
no, it's right? Kind of like real time. You have to be ready, like a minute man,
Yeah.
Are these trackers doing this just out of the kindness of their heart, or is there? I mean, are they getting fees for it?
It's a great question. There is no fee. I think a donation is sort of expected to some level, but they're not gonna. They're gonna go on that track. If there's no donation, they're taking the track.
Sure.
And I mean, they've tracked for me in lean times, and I walk out with a couple of farm chickens and a ham from a pig, and it's like, like whatever you got.
That's a sweet deal, though.
That is a nice gig
to make it work for them, because they're incredible. I mean, they're like, honestly, I said to both of them after we worked with them this fall, I was like, you guys are my heroes. Like, this is incredible what you're doing. So I just can't say how contagious it is to be around that kind of energy.
Sure, the houndsman life.
I was gonna say, we experienced that when we were down in West Virginia with the Untamed. It's like these guys get a kick out of bear hunting, but they get more a kick out of just watching their dogs work and just letting the dogs do exactly what they've been bred to do,
which is amazing,
which is awesome, and it's something we got to experience firsthand, and it just kind of blew us away. So we were pretty pumped about it.
Right. Great.
You mentioned. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead. What?
I was gonna bring us off on a tangent. Finish your thought, and then I have a tangent question.
I was just gonna say, did you get a chance to watch our dead man bear hunt?
Yeah. So good. For anybody listening, check that out. It is phenomenal.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun making that. That was Will's first bear, in Maine. He has shot a couple other bears, but in Maine, that was his first bear. And, we're not big bear hunters, I mean, we bear hunt because we're deer hunters, and bear season opens first. And it's just a good way to kind of like dust everything off. And boy, we had a good time making that. It was really a lot of fun. So,
yeah. Bears are cool. We talk about it a lot. I'm hooked on bears. And I said I have a bear quota. And actually, this is the tangent. It's good. Look at this segue. Speaking of the quota that my wife has given me for one bear a year, she goes, so we're moving right now, which is why we're in Jared's office. The new place we're going, over the fireplace, there's a big open space. And she's like, hey, you're going to need to get like a moose to put on there.
Excuse me?
And I'm like, all right. I mean, deal. What am I supposed to argue with that?
Right.
But she's like, well, can you go to Maine and get a moose? I'm like, well, you can. It's like, from what I hear, it's like a once in a lifetime draw. Is that right? For Maine?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. I mean, I've been drawn twice. And that was, last time I was drawn was over 15 years ago. But I'm a resident to Maine, so I have a better chance.
Yep.
But it's very, very difficult to get drawn. It really is. I mean, I would consider, if you ever do get drawn, it's a once in a lifetime thing, and you totally want to do it right. And you can make that hunt as much of an adventure as you want. You know, you can drive around in big cuts and probably shoot that moose from the edge of the road, or you can get way back in some swamp, wet ground, and
you know how we're gonna get in
this. You are tickling us right now.
Yeah, we're swamp people. Living in Michigan, we just if my clothes aren't full of swamp by the end of the day, a hunting day, then I have not done my job.
Someone hasn't lost a boot.
I last year, I actually recorded this video. I never actually posted it, Jared. You were given. I feel we were going out. You're like, I had hip boots on, not waders.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, man, that's not going to cut it. And I'm like, no, dude, I'll be smart. I'll walk on the clumps. And if I sink in, well, like we literally have this conversation. You have to leave. That was actually the day before you got COVID when we did that hunting trip.
And I'm like, well,
I'm out. I might as well. I'm going to go scout out this another spot, but I got to go through some swamp to get there. So I walk in and like 10 feet into the swamp, I am up to my nips in just muck. I go right in the duck moss or whatever that stuff is. Yep. I'm covered in it. And I record a video just stuck in, and I never I don't know what I did with it. But it was like basically like, I'm eating crow right now. Jared, you were right.
It's usually the scenario.
That's usually about how
it goes.
So Maine moose hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, we should probably start applying at least. It'd be sweet.
One more thing to apply to. You know what I mean?
They add up.
Yeah.
We got all these ideas.
Think as an out-of-stater, you can buy additional chances. So it's kind of how much you want to muckle up to. Like you can buy more chances than one. As an in-stater, we only can apply just once.
Yeah.
But I think they give the whole ratio thing. They give more in-state than out-of-state. So they've balanced that all out. But boy, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to get drawn for. Yeah. So that's cool. Spot may be bare for a little while. So maybe you put something else there over the mantle. I don't know.
I know. Trying. It's a lot of my walls are bare. So I mean, it's not going to be that far out of the question. I'll go to Canada or something. Canada has moose.
Yeah, or Alaska moose, but those they come with a huge price tag. And it's like,
I mean, you need to borrow some money.
You can come do it in Maine. You can do it pretty reasonable. You just got to get that tag, So yeah,
I'm pretty lucky. We do so.
Oh yeah,
we do regular betting, like $2 or whatever on games. I've been good. I've been hot this year.
You have been on a hot streak.
I've been on a hot streak. So I think I have to put in. Just keep rolling. Let it roll.
A couple of years ago, there's a local car dealership that during the Super Bowl, you would just pick one team, right? Either Team A or Team B. If your team won, you got thrown into a raffle to win a brand new Subaru
Forester.
Subaru Forester.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I saw the commercial.
You saw it?
I saw the commercial, and I'm like, I ain't gonna do that. That's stupid. Lo and behold, James goes ahead and enters into this contest and wins the freaking car.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. One of 32,000.
Yeah.
So I feel like those odds are way lower than a moose draw.
I feel like we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lucky, man. I'm like Midas. Everything I touch turns to gold.
Just like my lucky rabbit's foot, I just take everywhere.
That's right.
Once in a while it falls off. You got to tie it back on.
Yeah, or just get a new rabbit.
Yeah.
Man, that rabbit's only got like 2 feet left at this point. I don't know how you catch him every time. It gets easier every time. So, well, John, I appreciate you coming on. You have these new things coming out. Anything else you want to tell people about or where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, we have episodes from 2020 that are going to start sort of coming through. We're working with a company down in Boston, which helped us rebrand and is helping us with a lot of video production, pilot studios. And I just, I can't be more happy with them. They just have been so great for us. They bring a level of professionalism that, we just, I say to people all the time, our time is best spent in the tree. That's really what we're good at.
Right.
So I'm really, really happy to be partnered with them. And we have our YouTube channel up now. A lot of our content is there and we'll continue to land there. We have some great partnerships going forward for the 21 season that will become sort of obvious as time goes on. is how this content comes out. So we're really happy there too. And I think our Instagram, Hunting Maine Official is really the place to go to sort of see what's current, what's happening. You can link through. We always run a link tree so you can jump around and see our stuff. And that's our game right now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to need to have you back again before fall. I want to talk trail cams with you. You and I have been talking a little bit off air.
I've got a lot to say about trail cameras.
I know. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So we got to make that happen because I haven't even told you about these conversations yet. So exciting stuff. Yeah. So that's like the spoiler for or not a spoiler, like a teaser.
A teaser
for anybody listening. Just stay tuned. We're gonna have John back to talk trail cameras.
And John, I got to give you the award for best ambiance going on.
Oh, yeah. The New England background is
you've got
really
a couple of shoulder mounts. You've got some sheds on a table. You got the roaring fire going. Like this is a beautiful scene we've been looking at.
See a good bit of scenery there. Yeah. Well, yesterday in Maine, it was blowing like 45 miles an hour and it was like 20 below zero. So, today is a little better, but like I figured, I'm just going to be here. I'm going to have a fire and I'm going to relax.
Yeah. I respect it.
That's a smart call.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm getting the kudos on that one. You get the kudos on that latest launch that you guys just did on choosing a bow.
Yeah.
I've got to say that is absolutely stellar. You
Good work, Jared.
Thank you. Yeah.
Have you done this? You must have done this before, Jared.
I'm not going to toot my horn, but that was my first one.
Well, no, you've done other videos.
I've done a saddle hunting basics video, but nothing extensive.
He's that's why we call him the natural around here.
Yeah, I would say you're a natural. It's really good. It's really good.
Thank you.
You really pop.
That is step 1 of 5, so we've got a couple more coming out.
Is it 1 a week, or what's your plan for that?
Obviously, I can't fit 5 into a 4-week plan.
4-day or a 4-week plan.
Yeah,
okay.
So I'll have to double up on one of those weeks, or we'll split it up somehow. But
either way,
for those.
Spoiler though, at the end, Jared does pick a bow, right?
I do pick one, but I don't say which one it is.
Nice. Okay.
I never reveal it.
Yeah.
All the bows are good.
Well, I think you can expect within about 2 weeks we ought to have that dog tracking trailer up, which will sort of pave the way for the series that's going to come out. So we're pretty excited about that. And then we'll be bringing other episodes forward. Will shot a great buck. Josh shot a great buck. Rye shot a great buck. I shot a great buck. So it's like, all that stuff's coming out,
Awesome.
And it's in the we call it, it's in the pipe,
Yes.
Getting it out.
Coming in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good problem to have.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you again. We'll be in touch real soon to do that trail cam episode next.
All right. That's awesome, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, John.